Good morning and happy Monday. Happy and blessed Monday from Metro Manila, the Philippines, Southeastern Asia. Yesterday, in the small country of Lithuania, in the Baltic region of Eastern and Northern Europe, the presidential election's first round was held. The incumbent president, Ms. Dalia Grybauskaite, is serving out her second and last constitutionally allotted presidential term, so she cannot be a candidate. According to the preliminary results of yesterday's first round of the presidential elections, the runoff or second election to be held in 2 weeks will be very tight, because the two top candidates who qualified for the runoff were almost even in the results. In Lithuania, the president does possess certain important powers, especially in foreign policy, and therefore Lithuania is classified as a semi-presidential republic, although there is also a prime minister or the official head of government whom the president appoints and who is responsible to the Lithuanian parliament, the Seimas. Mr. Gitanas Nausėda narrowly won the first round of voting over Ms. Ingrida Šimonytė. According to the official results or preliminary results available on Wikipedia, Mr. Nausėda received 31% of the vote compared to Ms. Šimonytė's 30.1% of the vote. Mr. Nausėda is an independent candidate. Ms. Šimonytė is an independent candidate, but also endorsed by the right-wing Homeland Union. The third main candidate, Mr. Saulius Skvernelis, an independent politician, but endorsed by the Lithuanian Farmers and Greens Union and the Social Democratic Labour Party of Lithuania, received 20.4% of the vote. None of the other candidates, of whom there were 6, managed to get even 5% of the vote. A total of 0.7% of invalid or blank votes were given. Lithuania has a multi-party competitive political system, in addition to the country being a semi-presidential republic where the president has rather wide powers, but is nevertheless not the official head of government and cannot unilaterally force the government to resign. Only the Lithuanian parliament can do that. And because Lithuania has a semi-presidential political system, the president and the cabinet share the executive power, while the government or cabinet and the parliament share the legislative power. The president appoints the country's judges, who then exercise the judicial power independently of executive and legislative power. The president is directly elected for a 5-year term, and if necessary, a second round of voting is needed, and can serve a maximum of 2 consecutive terms. If under 50% of the eligible voters participate in the presidential election, a candidate can win outright with a plurality, provided that he or she wins at least 1/3 of the total vote. The president appoints the prime minister or the head of government, but the Seimas or the Lithuanian parliament must approve him or her by majority vote. And on the prime minister's nomination, the president also appoints a nomination or recommendation. The president also appoints the council of ministers or the cabinet, consisting of 13 ministers and a number of other top civil servants and the judges for all courts. He or she also serves as the commander-in-chief, oversees foreign and security policy, addresses political problems of foreign and domestic affairs, proclaims states of emergency, considers the laws adopted by the Seimas or parliament, and performs other duties specified in the constitution. Contrary to the other two Baltic republics, Latvia, which is Lithuania's northern neighbor, and Estonia, and most other republics that are situated totally in Europe. Russia, as we know, of course, is situated mostly in Asia, although ironically most of its people live in Europe. So contrary to most other republics situated fully in Europe, Lithuania is a semi-presidential republic. The parliamentary republics of Europe are a long list. For example, my distant native land, Finland in Northern Europe, is a parliamentary republic. So in practice is the other Nordic republic, Iceland. So are, as I said, Estonia and Latvia. And then Germany is a parliamentary republic. So are the Czech Republic, Slovakia. For all practical purposes, we can call Switzerland a parliamentary republic, even though it has a directorial government of 7 councillors, as they are called, elected by the country's parliament or its lower house. Austria, despite having a semi-presidential constitution, in practice functions as a parliamentary republic. Italy is a parliamentary republic, and then so are Slovenia, incidentally the native land of the current US First Lady, Melania Trump, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, although it has a collective presidency of 3 individuals, one representing the Serbs, the other one the Bosniaks, the third one the Croats. So are Serbia, Montenegro, Albania, North Macedonia, Kosovo, which still has a limited international recognition, Greece, Bulgaria, Hungary, and Moldova, and also Malta, Europe's southernmost country. The semi-presidential republics, which are located fully in Europe, include France, most notably, Portugal, Poland, Romania, and Lithuania. Then there are several countries which are variously grouped as either among the European countries or Asian countries, either for geographical or cultural or political reasons. Cyprus, which is technically in Western Asia but has close ties to Europe, especially for its Greek Cypriot Republic. After all, there was a strong movement in the second half of the 20th century called Enosis, which, if successful, would have joined the Greek part of Cyprus with Greece. Then Turkey has become a presidential republic and an authoritarian one at that. Turkey is usually classified as an Asian country, even though a tiny northwestern corner of it is located in Europe. Russia is in practice a presidential republic, although it does have a prime minister as well. Belarus, yes, I forgot to mention Belarus is located fully in Europe, more specifically in Eastern Europe, and has a presidential and authoritarian, and we could say even dictatorial system. Even Russia has a partially democratic political system, but Belarus is considered a Soviet-style dictatorship, despite the existence, nominal existence of a number of political parties and opposition groups. Then Georgia and Armenia. Well, Georgia is probably a parliamentary republic. Armenia might be either a parliamentary or a semi-presidential republic. Azerbaijan is probably a presidential republic, and so probably are at least most of the other former republics in former Soviet republics in Western and Central Asia, which are sometimes for political reasons included in the number of European countries. Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Anyway, whoever will win this second round of the Lithuanian presidential elections will succeed Ms. Dalia Grybauskaite, an independent politician who has been popular throughout her constitutionally allowed second terms. So let's see now. So her term is scheduled to end on July the 12th, 2019, if they hold strictly to that 10 years without adding any days, with the possible exception of the 12th day of July falling on Sunday. Incidentally, it won't. The 12th of July 2019 should be Friday. During the 10-year presidency of Ms. Grybauskaite, there have been three prime ministers, Mr. Andrius Kubilius, Mr. Algirdas Butkevičius, and the current prime minister, Mr. Saulius Skvernelis, who finished third in the presidential elections first round. In the Lithuanian parliamentary elections, there are two rounds. On the first round, the 70 members of the parliament who are elected by proportional representation are elected, and then on the second round, and then also those single-member district candidates who managed to get over 50% of the vote. And then on the second round, held 2 weeks later, are elected those candidates from the remaining single-member districts who did not win the majority of the vote on the first round. In the latest Lithuanian parliamentary elections held in October 2016, the Farmers and Greens prevailed with 54 seats, including including 20 proportional seats. 19 proportional seats, and the other 35 came from the second round of the single-member districts voting. The Homeland Union Lithuanian Christian Democrats received 31 seats, although it did win a plurality of the proportional vote with 20 seats. The Social Democratic Party of Lithuania was third with 17 seats. The Liberal Movement came fourth with 14 seats. The Anti-Corruption Coalition got 1 seat. The Electoral Action of Poles in Lithuania and Christian Families Alliance received 8 seats. Lithuania has a fairly strong Polish minority in its southeastern part, which indeed belonged to Poland in the 1920s and 1930s, including Lithuania's current and historical capital, Vilnius. So for most of the 1920s and 1930s, Lithuania's capital was Kaunas. The Order and Justice Party got 8 seats, the Labour Party received 2 seats, the Lithuanian Green Party got 1 seat, so did the Lithuanian List. The next parliamentary elections are scheduled for October 2020. The number of seats may be reduced from the current 141 to 121. Maybe one reason is the likely falling population of Lithuania. Yeah, simultaneous with the first round of the presidential election, that Lithuanian referendum is held, but possibly its results have not yet been known. Yes, Lithuanian constitutional referendum. Yes, the proposals are to reduce the number of members of parliament from 141 to 121, and to allow Lithuanians to hold dual citizenship with a list of countries meeting European or transatlantic integration criteria, which would be determined by law. Let's see if the results are yet available according to the Lithuanian language article. On the eve of the referendum, about 2/3 of the Lithuanians were planning to vote for the citizenship referendum. Yeah. Well, the results are not yet available. So who are the two successful presidential candidates who will face each other? Well, Mr. Gitanas Nausėda is an economist and lecturer. He was born in May, on May the 19th, 1964, so he will turn in 6 days 55 years. He graduated from the Vilnius University, from the Faculty of Economics, I think. From 1990 to 1992, he did a practice at the University of Mannheim in Germany under the DAAD scholarship. In 1993, he successfully defended his PhD thesis, Income Policy under Inflation and Stagflation. And since 2009, he has been a lecturer at Vilnius University Business School. Having completed his studies from 1992 to 1993, he worked for the Research Institute for Economics and Privatization. From 1993 to 1994, he worked for the Lithuanian Competition Council as a head of the Financial Markets Department. From 1994 to 2000, he worked at the Bank of Lithuania, initially in the department regulating the commercial banks and later as a director of the Monetary Policy Department. From 2000 to 2008, he was a chief economist and advisor to the chairman of AB Vilniaus Bankas. From 2008 to 2018, he was the financial analyst as well as chief advisor and later the chief economist for the SEB Bankas president. In 2004, he supported the election campaign of the former Lithuanian president, Mr. Valdas Adamkus, who served 2 non-consecutive terms as the Lithuanian president. Since then, the Lithuanian constitution has been amended or changed to disallow non-consecutive terms. The Lithuanian president must serve either 2 terms back-to-back or then just a single term. In other words, if he or she decides not to seek re-election or then is defeated in his or her bid for re-election, that will be it. He or she will never be allowed to run for president again. In September 2018, Mr. Nausėda announced his candidacy for the Lithuanian presidential election in 2019. In 1990, he married Diana Nausėdienė. They have 2 daughters. He speaks Lithuanian, English, German, and Russian. And he will be facing in 2 weeks' time Ms. Ingrida Šimonytė, born in November 1974, so she's currently still 44 years old. She's a Lithuanian economist, politician, and former finance minister. In 2013, she was appointed deputy chairwoman of the board of the Bank of Lithuania. In parallel to her duties, she was teaching economics at Vilnius University, Institute of International Relations and Political Science, and public finance at ISM, University of Management and Economics. She stepped down at the end of October 2016 to take over her duties as a member of parliament, or the Seimas, and her political party is the right-wing Homeland Union, or center-right, liberal conservative Homeland Union. In November 2018, she won with over 78% of the vote the Homeland Union presidential primaries. She has served as the chair of the audit committee. She speaks Lithuanian, English, Polish, Russian, and basic Swedish. She has been honored with the Officer's Cross of the Order of Vytautas the Great in Lithuania.